And now on Tucson Business Radio, let's find out how to be healthy, wealthy, and wise with your host, Karen Fisher.
Good afternoon, my fellow Tucsonans and all of our internet radio listeners from around the globe. I am broadcasting remotely from Tucson, Arizona. We had snow yesterday. This is Karen Fisher, and you are listening to Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise. I am super excited to have actually a long-term friend now. We've known each other for years, but an amazing rock star marketer. My special guest today is the infamous Ann Bennett. Ann, welcome.
So, thank you, Karen. This is great.
We are going to have so much fun. I love, there's some things that's happened with the whole shutdown as far as the technology, but I think that global reach has been a lot of fun. But let me tell my listeners a little bit about you, because I know a brief bit about the bio, and I do want you to tell the story of walking in New York, what changed your life and some of those things. But
I'll be happy to.
Behind the scenes, I want to let people know that Ann Bennett, she is the founder of Renegade Branding, which is so much fun. And you've literally spoken all across the country, throughout the entire world. You are a best-selling author, you're a coach yourself, and a brand profit builder. You're going to talk a little bit about that, a little bit more about that. You have shared this stage with such amazing international thought leaders such as Les Brown, Sandra Yancey, who's the CEO of eWomen Network, and Adam Markle, who is the former CEO of Peak Potentials. Try saying that fast. Peak Potentials Personal Development Programs. And you used your marketing and branding. I know it's a lot, but you work a lot with female entrepreneurs, but a few very smart men.
Right.
Tell me about your journey a little bit.
Well, I originally was a painter, an artist, and I left California. I'm originally from California. I was a surfer girl. I went to UCSB. I grew up in the South Bay area. And I left and went to New York to be a part of the art world in about 1980. And it was a little bit like Gidget Goes to Hell, in a sense of it's such an extreme change. But once I got there and kind of got my groove on, it was really fun to be in the art world in the 80s. It was really happening and hopping. And I ended up buying a loft in the East Village, actually, and living there for quite a while, 25 years. And I think for me, New York was just this place that you had to go. I had to go. I felt really drawn to go there. My father was like, stay home, be a teacher. You're not going to make any money being an artist. I love that when people tell me stuff like that. Because, if I hear a no, that's a very inspirational push for me to go in that direction. I'm a little bit of a renegade in that way. But, I ended up working at Popular Mechanics. I was the first woman in the art department. I worked for all the major magazines that everybody knows about. And I ended up the last 5 or 6 years at Vogue magazine. And one day, we were talking about this off record a minute ago, but one day it was like one of those clear California days, we call them in New York, where it's the clear sky and it's beautiful. The weather's nice. It's just awesome. And so I'm walking up Fifth Avenue, drinking a latte and getting ready to go to work. And I see these people standing across the street and they're all looking up in the sky. And I'm like, what? So I turn and I look up just in time to see the first plane hit the World Trade Center. And it was in a moment that was like, of course, my mouth was open and I was like, I can't believe what I just saw. But it really changed my DNA. It changed everything about my trajectory. It was like I was like the it girl at Vogue, and it was all about art shows and selling my work and doing all this stuff, all about I'm so cool. And then all of a sudden it was like, what is going on? And it just turned out to be, for me, a very big turning point to wanting to contribute and wanting to do something that would change the world and have it be a better place for all of us to live. And I was like, well, how can I do that? I'm just this artist. I spend most of my time alone. And I was like, I'm going to take the storytelling capacity that I have from doing magazines and writing headlines and putting all the visuals together. And I'm going to help entrepreneurs who want to really make a big difference in the world, that want to take their passion and what they care about and really use their personalities to explode their visibility and their profits. So that's why I headed off in that direction, never looking back.
That's amazing. But and then you're not in New York now. You've moved
I moved
from
back
New
to
York
California.
back to California.
Yeah. My mom, my father
Yeah.
had passed away, and my mom needed some help. She was pretty much in dementia by that time. So I came back to California and decided to start my business. And that's basically
It's
what I
just,
did.
and which is just amazing. And then as far as with that journey, and that, I mean, I just can't even imagine. Everybody remembers where they were
Oh,
when 9/11
absolutely.
happened. You know, they just, you just absolutely that moment in time. And that must have been just an amazing surreal thing, because I know when we first saw, you know, saw what was happening, because I remember me personally, my mother, I'm getting our daughter ready to go to school, and my mother calling me and saying, you know, are you watching television? And I'm like, no, because we don't. I mean, Scott and I will watch TV, but it's only at night. I never turn it on during the day, never in the morning, anything like that. And she's like, and so it turned it on. And I remember thinking to myself, I don't have time to deal with this right now. I've got to get Allison ready to go to school and stuff like that. And I looked, and it didn't, nobody knew what was really happening. We
Mhm.
just saw, so when I turned on the television to try to figure out what my mom was so crazy hysterical about, that's when I saw it was the second plane that hit. And then it was just like, I don't know what this means, but I was a mortgage loan originator already at that time,
Mhm.
and the whole bond market shut down and everything like that. And I just remember for the next 2 to 3 days, like the bond market was shut down, the stock market was shut down, and all of these changes about having delayed closings or people signing or this time or the other things that make you like make people crazy as they're trying to plan their move. None of
Yeah.
it mattered. Everybody was cool. Everybody was fine. They just like, you know, and how do we take care of each other? But it
Mhm.
also launched me in a way of of fierce protection of those that are closest to me, not just my family, but also my friends and coworkers, and collecting those tribes. Like I, you know, really conscientiously filling my life with really good and positive people, of which, and you are obviously one of them. You've
Oh,
been,
thank
I'm
you.
trying to think how many years we go back when we first met, but you're just a
Oh, it's
joy.
been a while. It's been a
Yeah,
while. It's probably been about 8 years, I think, or so.
yeah,
But, you know,
yeah,
I think that was that's the biggest thing when you're experiencing that kind of peak emotional impact on something. It really jars you at your core, and it really gives you, I mean, it's kind of like what we're experiencing now, right? It gives you
yes,
the opportunity to really go inward and dial into, what do you really care about? What do you really, what is your purpose of being here? What do you want to kind of dedicate your life to?
it,
And
it,
we all have talent, skills, and abilities, but sometimes they start to feel like they're not really where your heart wants to go.
mhm.
And
And,
when things like
and
that happen, you immediately adjust. We all immediately, all my friends in New York, we all immediately adjusted to, what do we really care about and who do we want to be with? So it was like what you were saying, it's like building your tribe, and you're being in a community of like-minded people, and really um, loving each other, loving
yes,
each other.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, one of the things since that time that's happened is the number of entrepreneurs and business owners that you have really helped them to create their own impact. So let's talk it. And I love what you say in terms of where to go. It says Anne works with purpose-driven entrepreneurs who do transformational work so that they can liberate and ignite their unique genius, authentic voice, and build a profitable brand platform. Because that's one thing that, you know, one of the issues that I hear sometimes from entrepreneurs, and I think you'll hear this I've heard it sometimes as well, is like, oh, they don't know quite what they should be charging or what they should do. And I just do it because I love it, not because they're there to make a profit. But it's important to be able to make a profit. And it's okay to make a profit because of the impact that you could do as far as for other people. So let's talk about, and I absolutely love your slogan. And I want to talk more about this, about it's smart to fit in. That's what a lot of people do. They do what they can to fit in and not ruffle any feathers. But
Right.
think about this. This is what she says. It's smart to fit in, but it's brilliant to stand out.
Yeah, and
And
I like to add brilliant and profitable
brilliant and profitable. I love it.
to stand out.
And I remember one time you were actually one of the guest speakers when I was one of the Tucson managing directors at the Tucson chapter. This is, again, it has to be 8-9 years ago, where I'll remember we were at the Hacienda del Sol. It was such a cool place, and we had so much fun. And one of the it was you said you talked about branding like Madonna. Tell us and the listeners a little bit more about what you mean by that. Like,
It's so interesting, Karen, because I always am about iterate to awesome, right? It's like, get yourself going, okay? The biggest thing for anybody is to just get it out there, especially entrepreneurs. We want to make it perfect, but you just get it out there and get it started. And then you tweak and iterate and change. And so that whole concept of marketing like Madonna has changed quite a bit over the last 8 or 9 years, right? So now I have created these brand archetypes so that people can start to understand the essence of who they are and how you can take that and actually make visual and make all the different marketing kind of avenues and make your message align with that. And Madonna is one of those that I'm using now. I call it the disruptor. So there's like these 4 archetypes. There's the nurturer. I use Oprah, Madonna, the disruptor, Steve Jobs, the innovator, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg as the geek. And so it's just a way, it's kind of a fun game to like identify your essence as one of those 4 characters so that you can begin to use those attributes in your marketing, in your branding, in how you photographs are taken. It really ripples out into everything that you do. And, the thing with Madonna that I always like talking about is, she is a disruptor. She's bold, she's brassy, she's got a point of view. And you want to think for yourself in your own business, how can I have a point of view that's different than the next person who's saying, or they're doing the same service I'm doing. So you don't want to talk about the service as much as you want to talk about your point of view about what's happening. It becomes a lot.
So give us an example about that. So like with one of your clients that I know you've got several that you've worked with. So give us a, so your point of view. So somebody that's maybe
a lot of work with, ironically, with PhD psychologists and financial advisors. I love my financial advisors. They're very, everything's compliant and everything's, there's a real structure that they have to live inside of. And I'm always looking for gray area, right? I'm always looking for, well, can we push you out a little bit over here to make something a little more distinct? And it's interesting. One of my my most recent clients, I teach people how to write manifestos. And so I had her write a manifesto about financial planning, like what it actually means to people. And for my financiers, since I'm a disruptor, I always say, well, why don't you say something like live rich, die broke? Because like, then you have a really good life, right? And you can use your money the way you want to. But like, people are like, huh? It's kind of like a head whipping hook, right? But I think for this one particular client, she wrote this whole manifesto around you deserve to use your money on things that matter to you, the things that your heart really wants to do, how you should spend your money, how we would construct a plan for you would be based on what matters to you? What is it about your life, the things that you care about in your life? So most people in that industry start talking about, well, have enough money for retirement, or be able, that's kind of, you know, all about that stuff, right? Have enough money
Yeah,
to
yeah.
give to your kids, or whatever it is. And she starts from a very different place. And I think when we can tap into our own personal points of view about how we do something and what we care about, I like to say, you know, what breaks your heart and what pisses you off is a really good place to
Oh, there
start.
you go. Okay.
It's a great place to start if people are thinking, well, I'm not really sure what riles me up, right? Well, it's either going to be heartbreaking or it's going to make you angry as hell, right? So,
Well, let's just ask that fair question of you personally. What breaks your heart? And then
me,
what pisses
oh
you
my
off?
God, what breaks my
Yeah.
heart is that so many awesome entrepreneurs and people who really want to have a purpose, they have a purpose and they really want to get it out into the world. They don't know how to do that and they just fall by the wayside. Because really, your business, what you actually do in your business is a small percentage of what you need to do to create a business, right? It's the fun part for
Yeah,
most people, right?
that's a tweetable moment just for everybody. That is definitely the case. That what you do, that's, you know,
It's maybe
as far as with the
20% of
business,
it.
that's huge.
It's maybe
Yeah.
20% of it. And then, you know, the bigger percentage is in the communication and the marketing, getting out in front of people. And that's really, to me, heartbreaking to watch people struggle so much. You really don't have to struggle. That's the irony of the whole thing. You know how people are like, business is so
Yeah.
hard. Business is really hard to do. Well, guess what? Business is business. And yes, you have to work hard. I'm not saying you don't have to work hard. I'm just saying you don't have to make it harder than it needs to be. You can
Yeah,
do
that's
that,
a great point. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And so I think, you know, that's something that breaks my heart. Um, and what pisses me off is to see people um, not really knowing what to do. They start things and
Mm.
they think, oh, this in you know 6 months or in a year I'm going to make, you know, $500,000. And unless you have that background in business and know kind of exactly where you're going, it's almost impossible, because there's so much going on in people's mindsets that keep them from actually accomplishing the things that they want to do because of their limiting beliefs,
I
essentially.
I could not agree more. And that there is a point, is the limiting beliefs. So for
Yeah,
me
I think it's
personally,
90% of
what
it.
what
What do you think?
yeah, I would agree with that. Well, I would, you know, so for me, the part that what breaks my heart
Hmm.
is seeing people self eliminating themselves from the housing market or from any type of real estate. Like they'll just decide that they either can't buy or they shouldn't buy, or they, you know, whatever the case may be. And then what really pisses me off is to see how clients have been taken advantage of
Yeah.
by both credit card and automobile companies. I mean, the
Oh,
debt, you know, you know, you think about it, financial planners are asset managers. As a
mhm.
loan officer, I see myself often as a debt manager, trying
Mm.
to help clients how they can pay the least amount. And the part that also really, really, really pisses me off is the algorithm within the credit reporting system. It is absolutely, you want to talk about guilty until you're proven innocent.
Yeah.
There's so much power, and it's seeing these companies right and left breaking the law. You know, and I see some people that got so much debt on there. You know, I think there's maybe another Mother Teresa, and she's not doing her life's work because she's so busy paying the bills.
Yeah. It's a
You
very
know, and so
distracting thing to pay the bills.
yes,
I mean, it's a
yes, yes,
necessity that we all need to at least be
yes.
able to cover our bills and things like that. But it's very restrictive when that's all you can think about, or all you can think about is
Yes.
how do I pay down my debt? That's
Yeah.
not really very aspirational. It's not really going to make you feel
No.
good. It's a little bit more like making yourself smaller. I say to a lot of people, they're always like coming up with a million reasons why they can't do something. I'm always looking for how
Yeah.
can I do it, and how can I how can I squirm around the rules and make it
How
happen?
can you?
How
Yeah.
can it happen? Or who do I need to know? Or what do I need to know that I don't know now? Because in my current state of understanding, it's limited. Most of it's a belief.
Absolutely. And that at the very core for you is that growth mindset, right? Like at the very core, and
Exactly.
asking the why, not getting caught up so much in the how, but getting, that in terms of the why. Well, why do people make these decisions from a business standpoint? And then also, like I used to set, everybody does their own version of maybe New Year's resolutions or whatever the case may be. And I'm a task, T's crossed, I's dotted,
Oh, one
list
of
person,
those.
lots of lists. Um, and at the same time, and I do like to, you want to talk about geeking out on numbers. I totally geek
You're
out
the
on numbers.
geek. That's awesome. I love geeks.
For sure. But one of the things that I decided, I did this practice a number of years ago where I would pick a word to focus on for the year. What's that word of the year? And the word that I focused on this year, which I thought was really that for everything, is to focus on abundance. Abundance in my health, abundance in the relationships with the people that I want to be around with, abundance in my bottom line as far as my net assets, my wealth, and things like that. Just abundance of joy. Think about what that is versus being limited, because for this social person, social geek, that's me, but the social person that I am, to not be able to see people, as far as what you did, this has been, like, I need a hug.
Yeah. I sit at my doorstep and all the dogs come by and talk to me. Everyone's the dog, my pets and hugs in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
I think, what you were saying about, abundance, I was speaking to a friend the other day and I was like, money is like air. It's everywhere.
It is everywhere.
And people don't hold it that way, right? They have this other way of thinking about it. And I'm not saying that's wrong or right. I'm just saying, guess what? It's all in what you say. If you say it's difficult, it's difficult. If you say you can't do something, you can't do it. And there's a place where we need to become aware of what we say about what we're capable of, because we're really limitless actually as beings, right? As energy. And we have these challenges that are helping us hone. I always say, building a business is the biggest growth and development program you'll ever do.
Oh, that's a great, yeah.
Because it's like all the challenges of growing yourself, you can't grow beyond your business growth. So it's like as you grow, your business grows, and that's kind of how it is. And but I think the abundance mindset is, how do you allow yourself to be limitless? How does that work? And I've got a lot of people I study all the time, and I love the Mind Valley. I don't know if you're aware of the Mind Valley people, but it's
Mind Valley. I'm not sure. Well, I'll have to double check, but I will.
Mindvalley.com.
Okay.
Well, he wrote.
Yeah, you know what? Yes, I think I do know.
It's a great growth and development. It's all these thought leaders and people talking about how do you hack into your mind and create all these different things for yourself, so that you can basically, what it's all about for me is getting what it is you want, whatever that is. If you want a really loving relationship, then getting that and having that for yourself. If you want $1 million, getting that and having that for yourself. It's like, what's in the way is usually what's keeping us, is our mindsets, what we believe in. Money doesn't grow on trees kind of deal. When it's actually, it's circulating all over the place constantly.
Well, one of the things, and this is an interesting story with regards to money, people that have been around me a lot, they know that I find money everywhere. I find it all the time.
Me too.
And a case in point is I was actually at the eWomen Network. This is a number of years ago at the managing directors. There was a group of us that were going out to go to dinner, and I was behind, maybe 5 or 6 of the women, and I looked down and I picked up, and I'm like, I just picked up a $20 bill. And
Nice.
literally all 5 or 6 of the other ones in front of me had stepped over it. And I showed it to them. I said, you guys, I'm just telling you, it's like that Acres of Diamond Stories. You've got money everywhere. You just all walked past this. And you stepped over it. It wasn't like you didn't like just bypass it. You literally saw it, didn't recognize it in your own mind, and you stepped over it. And a couple of people they said that that's really changed. But I had one of the things that I've been having fun as far as listening to, so definitely as far as my value, but one of the books that I've been reading is Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Oh, it's a great book.
And if you hear me coughing, listeners, this is me getting at the end of COVID. So hang on.
Coughing happens.
Gotta be a cough still.
Atomic Habits.
Yeah, James Clear. And one of the things that he talked about in the newsletter, instead of planning for retirement, what about you designing your life?
Isn't that a cool idea? That excites
about
me.
That. Design your life. And it doesn't take years. It can happen right away. So I want to ask a couple of fun questions that we can have some fun with. So what does the word impact mean to you?
No, I just love that word. I don't know. Impact is about whether it's kind of like having influence. Impact is changing someone else, one person's life, or changing it doesn't have to be a lot of people, but a lot of people is a bigger pool. It's so much fun. But one person,
there you go.
it's really being able to have an influence in a way that allows change to occur for another person. Not like you can change anybody.
So, and I know
change anyone.
Number of people, but yeah. But tell me one of I know you've done it for a number of people, but tell me about one of your fun stories of somebody that you've made an impact on.
Well, my clients in general get impacted for sure. They come, it's kind of like you go in, but you don't come out the same. And that's really what it's all about to me. It's kind of the Roach Motel, you go in, but you can't get out. It's a little bit like you come into my sphere, and things, your way you look at yourself, the way you look at your life, the way you look at your business, all of that changes because of the work that we actually do together. So I had a client, one of my favorite clients, actually, Todd Krieger. He came in, he was a marriage and family therapist. He'd been doing his business for about 30 years. He was very successful. I mean, he was making 6 figures, and he was like, oh, I never have clients in the summer, and I got this book, and I got them all stashed in my garage. That was before print on demand, I think. And it was just this complete transformation of how he saw himself. Because I was like, Todd, your biggest thing that you do is help people with infidelity. He was like, had 90% success rate with infidelity. And I was like, you're really about making the world safe for love, so that we can actually love each other, even if we do things to hurt each other. We're not really doing it on purpose most of the time. We don't know how to communicate. We don't know how to be with each other. We make mistakes. We're human, right? All these things happen. And so we took him and actually rebranded his whole look and feel and made him into what I call a sexy geek. We're talking about the geeks, right? A sexy.
Yes.
I was thinking of him like, like a Justin Timberlake character, where he's sexy, but he's actually really geeky. And it's not like you paste something on yourself when you brand. It's more like you amplify part of your personality so people can really see you. And when we did that with him, it changed his entire life. not only his business life, it changed his personal life with his wife of like 36 years. Everything changed. And he was walking taller. He'd enter a room and people would go, who is that? Whereas before he would just kind of walk into the room and be, I wouldn't say a wallflower, but you know, someone that people didn't really notice they were even there. And it was because he was so used to being the therapist behind the scene and not being in the
Ah,
face of his
yeah.
business, right? Being in the forefront of his business. And what was great for Todd was that he just was on fire. He just got on fire. And today he gets like 4,000 hits on his website monthly. He's got videos online. He
Isn't
gets
that, yeah.
clients all over the world. All this stuff is, his whole life has changed. And for me, that's the funnest part of the work that I do, is being with people and just seeing how they fascinate others and connecting the dots for them in ways that they don't do themselves. You know, it's like we kind of
That's
play ourselves down
mhm.
and things like
Yeah.
that. We don't
Instead of
really,
as far as that. So
yeah, we don't really magnify our,
we
what I
don't
call our
magnify
fascination.
magnify it with that.
Mhm.
Yes. So well, I want to make sure our listeners know that this is Karen Fisher and you are listening to Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise with my wonderful guest, Ann Bennett. We're broadcasting remotely on Tucson Business Radio X. So let's have some more fun as far as that. I want you talked about it a little bit at the beginning, but the four archetypes. Let's,
Oh yeah,
you
let's
know,
play with that. I'm gonna do you.
yeah.
Let's do you.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the
All right.
archetypes are the nurturer, the disruptor, the innovator, and the geek. And I'm just going to read the characteristics, and it's self-identification, right? So sometimes there's more than
Got
one.
it.
I will get you whittled into one in a few seconds. Not a problem. Okay, so
Okay.
here's the nurturer. Your brand essence is warm, natural, spiritual, caring, kind, community, generous, and peaceful. Disruptor essence is irreverent, sassy, fun, freedom, spontaneity, image, action, and excitement. Innovator essence is ideas, original, engaging, action, inspiration, connecting, bold, and unorthodox. And geek is practical, quirky, rules, systems, planning, intense, centered, and structures.
So my gut tells me innovator for me.
Okay, great. So
See how that drills down. And I think everybody, just for clarity, because I think you shared this with me, everybody has a little bit of all of them in them.
yeah, I mean, we're all multifaceted, but what you want to do
Yes.
when you're actually creating a brand and a message is pick one.
Pick one. Yes.
Like it would be, so for instance, I was saying before, I use like Oprah as the nurturer, Madonna as the disruptor, Steve Jobs as a innovator, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg as a geek. So imagine if Ruth Bader Ginsburg was trying to be Madonna. It doesn't work, right? It just doesn't work. It's like
Yeah.
really pushed. It doesn't quite
Yeah.
work. Or the other way around. If Madonna was trying to be Ruth Bader Ginsburg, you'd always be going, yeah, there's more to this person. I can't
That's right.
put my finger on it, but I know, there's more. And I think, with a brand, it's something to begin. These kind of archetypes give you a place to begin, a place to go, oh, so if I'm an innovator, which is great, how do I speak to people? Using trends and languaging and what's the positioning and all these different things that come into innovation. Maybe you actually begin, this is a big thing right now, begin to gamify some of the things that you do. So it's a lot more fun. I know when we first got on the call, she's like, I can't wait, Ann's going to be here. We're going to have fun.
We are going to have, yes.
So imagine bringing fun or something that's more like a game into mortgage, let's just say. Like, what would that look like? How far could you push it so that it's not so far off the edge that everybody's like, I don't know what she's talking about, but it's just enough fun and dopamine and excitement around the whole process of mortgage. So that would be a place for you to really look to start to develop.
And that, that totally resonates with me, because one of the things that people hear, it's kind of funny that you say that, because one of the things that people hear me say all the time is, so we've got Summit Funding as my company, right? And I say it all the time, let's have some fun. SUMFUN. And
Right.
so because I wasn't able to go and see people, one of the things that I did, I actually, I ordered some really fun Tervis cups, the Tervis mugs. And, I can't give them to people because I'm not seeing people face to face, right? But we did a really fun with our the Summit colors, which are navy blue and that lime green, which are
nice.
colors that I personally like. I mean, I'm aligned with Summit because they're aligned with me, if that makes sense. And so we ended up with the Tervis mugs, and we mailed them, but we made sure that they had the blue and the green tissue paper. And I put in the card is a little like, what is your income goal for this year? Because I sent it to a group of realtor referral partners. And on that card, there's it was a BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal. What's your income goal for this year? And my vision for that is to have a conversation with those referral partners and back into those numbers, because that's the piece where I geek out, because I love numbers, but I have fun with numbers, you have fun with them.
Yeah, and I think it's great to just, I love, for me personally, surprise and delight, or what's called novelty. The brain really likes novelty. As much as we like consistency, which is important as well, then there's novelty. So if you're someone who's always doing something a particular way, it's always interesting to throw in a little fun thing, something a little bit different, especially in finances or anything having to do with money, because it's a serious subject, so to speak.
Yeah, they get very, very serious. The thing that I think about that, and I think where it goes as far as innovator, and let me see if I'm getting this, because I'm certainly not a branding expert. That's your job. But when I think of that, I think of Southwest Airlines as being an innovator. And an example of that is they will do really silly, funny things. Like I have been on flights where they've just done some really silly, funny things. So I'll remember one time we were landing in the Phoenix airport, and the whole airport was under construction. And so you landed and we taxied a long, long ways. And so the little flight attendant gets on the speaker and in a very, very strong Texas accent says, just in case you're all wondering why Southwest Airlines flights are so low, it's because we fly you part of the way and drive you the rest, and people laughed. It made people laugh. But it's more of but I think about that underlying piece of it. It's more of, we've got the safety down so pat, and we are so good at what we do, and we can have some fun with it.
Exactly.
Because
I think that's
never
refreshing, right? Because things always go wrong. I mean, come on, people. When does it? I mean, 10% goes right. Thank God it's only 10%.
Wow.
But or 20.
Exactly. Well, and think about But what are you going to think about even as far as an airplane? You say that you're off. How many times? Yeah.
All these things are variable. So I think that's really cute. And Southwest has really made a name for themselves by changing everything around. How they do everything is actually really changed around. You can change your ticket. Like nobody else lets you change your ticket. Okay. First of all, they already got my attention doing that. You used to be able to change your tickets all the time, but you can't anymore. And they're the only ones. Or like, don't really give you a seat, right? You just show up and get a seat as you go on the plane or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's just
and what they've done with that. Well, I want to tap into some of these things, because along that same lines, because Southwest Airlines has the no change. They do a lot of those different things. Different companies do a lot of those different things. But when you talk about, and this is something that I know that comes from your total background, what is a hook? And specifically, what is a head whipping hook? What do you mean by that?
I love head whipping hooks, you know, because there's hooky things and then there's things that make your head turn in an instant, right? And mostly those things are done out, they're overlaid or out of context. So it's like a head whipping hook is something that you actually say, that you can either say in a video or say in your marketing or say when you're networking, to grab attention, because there's so much noise and there's so much, this is how we do it. This is how we do it. This is how we do it. So you want to interrupt. It's an interruption to the mind chatter. And it's like a sound bite. So how they mostly work is a lot of times they're alliterations, because alliteration is a way of learning things. So it's like, if something is in alliteration, you remember it. It's like Dr. Seuss, green eggs and ham, Sam I am. Probably remember that when I'm
Okay.
95.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so I think so.
What are some of the head whipping hooks that you've got?
I do them all for my clients all the time, and we kind of write them as we go along. But one of the more recent ones, recent ones was nobody wants to be stared at unless they're stunning. And that was really done for a client of mine that went into the cosmetic industry because she had a horrible accident and had just lost her nose in a car accident.
Oh my gosh.
And then she went into all these different, you know, she had all these surgeries done and went into like the beauty side of an industry. And I was like, that's a really interesting story, right? To what got you into the industry that you're in. Plus, you know, I was always thinking about when you walk into a room and you're a really attractive woman, or any kind of woman who's really attractive, no, any kind of woman, you want people to appreciate you, right? Your dress or your hair, your outfit, the whole look. And I was thinking back to, you know, my mother was born in 1921, and I kind of think of her as Audrey Hepburn because she always was put together. She wasn't a fancy woman, like doing her nails and all that stuff, but she knew, because she was from the Depression, she knew how to dress and look really sharp all the time. And so I thought, well, nobody wants to be stared at if they're like kind of, you know, they don't feel that good about themselves or feel that great. But if you're stunning, of course, you want everybody to notice. So that's how the hook came about. But those hooks are created, really, there's a format to it, but we create them together in a conversation. And they're great for videos. They're great for introducing yourself. So instead of going, hi, I'm Ann Bennett, and I work with women entrepreneurs who struggle with la la la, you know, because we've heard it so much over the years, it's fun to say stuff like, it's smart to fit in, but it's brilliant and profitable to stand out. Come and talk to me if you feel like you'd like to be seen. Right. You know, you don't have to say that much because you're saying a hook. And people are going to remember the hook.
That is huge as far as for business and as far as the business owners as they start to think about this. So, so several people right now have become entrepreneurs for the first time because of COVID. They've been thrust into the entrepreneurial world.
Hello, I call it the reluctant entrepreneur.
Yeah, exactly. You're there, but some of the things, and they listen to a lot to the show, but what's the fastest way for people to get visibility and, as we call it, make some bank, you know?
Yeah, make bank, baby.
A lot of people are fearful. Yeah.
I think the quickest way always is to be seen and have a message that connects with people. You want to have a message that connects, and you want to have a brand that people aspire to. So the reason these brands have grown so fast, like Nike and Apple and all these brands, is people aspire to something bigger than themselves. Like when we were talking about what pisses you off and breaks your heart. It's about getting to something bigger than you, bigger than your personality.
Yeah.
Really important. And I think that people overlook everywhere we go, we're speaking. That all the world's a stage is really true, right? So it's like we used to go to the coffee store and meet friends and talk about stuff, and go to the dog run, meet friends, talk about stuff. All those places are places for you to actually start to use your voice about what it is you do. Don't really want to talk so much about what you do as much as the future that someone is going to get when they work with you. It's more,
and that's critical. I want you to repeat that one more time for those listeners.
You don't really want to talk about what you do, like the strategies and tactics or any of that. You want to talk about the transformation, the future that the person is going to be living into. Maybe they're going to be healthy. Maybe they're going to make a lot of money. Maybe they're going to feel comfortable in their skin, whatever it is. That's what you want to talk about. That's what you want to make your hooks about, your titles about. You don't really want to talk about the granularness of business, your business, mostly because it's not aspirational and it's not inspirational.
Oh, there you go.
It sounds like a lot of hard work.
Yes.
And I'm not saying hard work isn't involved, but as a human being, I'm like, show me the easiest and simplest way to do something that I can have fun doing it. And I know I can do it. Mostly it's I can actually do that thing. So,
well, yeah, and then really part of the things, and you've said this several times as far as the fun, it's got to be, there's that part that as far as like what energizes you, like to me, what energizes you? What is it that fuels you? To me, I mean, I love it when I find out that people have gotten their keys. That's such a fun thing, right? Mm-hmm. To know that but I talk about for me personally, I'm the connector. I'm not just, I connect people to money, to resources, to, that's one of the main reasons why I am doing this show, Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise. I'm always, my daughter says that I collect people. It's like, collect people? What do you mean by that? She goes, yeah, and you remember their stories, everything about them. And I do know that sets me apart from other loan originators, because you're not just a number to me. Right. And I love the story behind the scenes, because it's amazing what some people have gone through to get to where they are.
Mm-hmm. And we all have stories. We all have stories.
Absolutely.
Stories. Some, more dramatic than others. I always tell people I'm recovering from a normal life.
Recovering
from growing up a normal life.
I love it.
Because most of my friends and people around me have lived more through a lot more tragedies and a lot more things when they were younger than I did. Yeah. And but I think it's so true. It's like, it's all about realizing that people are connecting with you. They're not connecting with the mortgage broker or whomever else. They're actually connecting with you. And it becomes very important to use your voice, use your story, get out and share, be a speaker, if you will. You don't necessarily have to be a professional speaker, but you need to talk. You need to use your voice.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, and it's just, when you're talking about talking and using your voice, I think that's, I really find that is a funny thing in one way, because, I look at my report card. Somebody had posted this, but I remember my report cards. They're like, Karen's a very talkative little girl. Karen's a little talkative. Basically, it was, if Karen would just shut up, she could get her school done.
She's chatty, now she has her own radio show.
Yes, and now I have my own radio show, and I talk for a living. I remember our son-in-law saying, because they've ended up being at our house because of COVID for months, because they were working. They're both in graduate school and they're working remotely, and so they one of the things is, so we divided and conquered. We had workspaces for all of us in the house, and one of the things that they said that Enrique said was, I had no idea how much you were on the phone, like all day long. So That's the talkative part. So, one of the things that I would love to have, and we're just about wrapping up on here, but for you personally, what are some of the bigger challenges that you've had for building your own business and things that you'd like that wisdom to impart to people to say, if I had known this, I would have done that?
The biggest thing for me is always, if I would have known that you actually could get your biology to work for you and not against you, that's where I would go first. I would go first to mindset and how do I get my nervous system, my biology, everything in my mind to align so that I'm grounded and I'm moving in the direction that I want to go. That's so, so important. And the other thing I would say is it takes however long it takes. I mean, we're always into this like hustling and grinding and this whole idea. My brother told me when I first started, you're never going to be successful, sis, because you're not a grinder. And I was like, that doesn't sound like fun. I don't want to be one of those people.
I don't want to be a grinder.
I like to work hard, or I like to do, I just get inspired in the work and the people that I'm with. But and then it becomes easy. It's not like a difficult thing. And it's really look for the pieces that you love to do. For the pieces that you love to do. And then other things, let other people do them for you once you make enough money to pay other people, which is usually right away. Right away, you want to pay a housekeeper, a bookkeeper, get a VA, because it's a lot, as you know, Karen, tremendous amount of things to do, a tremendous amount of different layers of things to do, but stay focused on who you are, your message, and your brand first, and then add the different ways you can market. A lot of times people just go out and start marketing with no direction.
Well, and what they do is that they start copying what other people are doing, but not recognizing that it's not a great connection because you're marketing the way somebody else is doing it, but it's not you. And people resonate with you. And that's how things are. So, oh my gosh, Ann, can you believe our hour is already up?
No.
It's already up.
That's what happens. See, we are alone and you're really having a good time. And
I know. So
flies by.
Well, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart being our guest today. I wish that you were in the studio and we were going out for a glass of wine afterwards. That'll happen soon. And I just, again, listeners, you absolutely need to follow Ann Bennett. We have all of her details up on the, actually on the Healthy, Wealthy, Wise website. And I love this. Let's just say one more thing, get unruly and change the world. So thank you again. Once again, we're signing off. I'm Karen Fisher, your hostess of our broadcast, Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise. And thank you so much, Ann, for being my guest. The first one of 2021.